News. Let's talk about some of the biggest storylines of the spring, and really none bigger than the Nico bombshell that dropped on April 12th. The former Vols quarterback, no longer part of the team after an NIL dispute. He then became the number one player in the portal and landed with UCLA. Then, presumptive Bruins starting quarterback Joey Aguilar hit the portal and landed with the Vols. So we had ourselves a little unintentional quarterback trade. And for more on all the biggest storylines that happened during this cycle, let's welcome in National college football analyst for CBSSports.com, Richard Johnson. I have a very simple question, RJ. Who won the trade here?
Well, I guess you could kind of say Tennessee. They were able to shed some salary, and they were able to, at least I would say, break even at the position. So in that respect, I guess the Vols won the trade, Emily.
But could you argue with UCLA that they might have gotten the better quarterback? What is it in terms of adding wins? Who won the trade?
Yeah, I think UCLA got better when they upgraded from Aguilar to Nico Iamaleava. I thought Iamaleava was the thing that held Tennessee's offense back from its true potential. When I look at this Tennessee offense and what it did against power conference opponents, basically, from the Arkansas game on, there was a blueprint about how to at least slow Tennessee down. It was rush 3, drop 8, and if Dylan Sampson beats you, that's okay, but you're not going to run that system like Hendon Hooker did and score 50 points on us. Defenses were clear, and Iamaleava was unable to get over that, unable to pilot this Tennessee offense to the heights that we saw even with Joe Milton the year before. They ended up being a more smash-mouth outfit, and they played defense, and that's really what got them to the playoff. It wasn't him. So as far as UCLA is concerned, yeah, I think UCLA adding Iamaleava and also Javian Thomas, the running back from Cal, yeah, UCLA, the Bruins absolutely get better on offense.
All right. Well, the Iamaleva has really kept us on our toes during this spring transfer portal cycle because there's news on younger brother as well with Madden Iamaleava. He hit the portal. The first-year quarterback hasn't even played a snap yet, but he's expected to transfer from Arkansas to join his brother at UCLA. Some backstory. This is, of course, after flipping from UCLA to Arkansas on National Signing Day. But now it sounds like that Arkansas is looking to recoup some of that NIL money. Let's hear from Brandon Marcello with more.
This decision by Arkansas's NIL collective to potentially pursue legal action against Madden Iamaleava and also Desmond James is a watershed moment in the ongoing professionalization of college athletics. Arkansas going after about $200,000 in buyout money that it says it is owed from Madden's team after he left Arkansas after only being there for 4 months. He signed a one-year deal with the NIL collective there that was going to pay him $500,000 for the year, according to our sourcing at 24/7 Sports and CBS Sports. Meanwhile, Desmond James, a receiver, he signed a deal at Arkansas and then left just a few days later before he was able to even really collect on that deal. But they're asking for buyout money because he signed that deal as well. Arkansas goes out and hires a prominent sports attorney to pursue all this, Tom Mars, who's been involved in the NCAA and athletic space for a long time, about a decade or so. He represented, by the way, a little twist here, Nico Iamaleava in that whole ongoing situation when the NCAA was investigating Tennessee about a year ago. Meanwhile, Desmond James has a new lawyer, a notable one as well, Darren Heitner, who's been a player's advocate over the years. This is something that's really going to heat up. Will it go to court? Everybody in college athletics is watching because for the first time publicly, we're seeing a school's NIL collective go after players and their collective money, what they believe is a buyout, really setting a precedent here that everybody's going to be watching across college athletics.
All right, Brandon, I think maybe said the word lawyer or lawsuit at least like 6 times. RJ, I know we just want to talk about football, but it is April. This is a major storyline when it comes to the future for NIL. So what sort of message does this potentially send to prospects when you see a collective say, we're coming to collect?
Well, I'll say this. There are a whole lot of schools and a whole lot of collectives that are watching this very closely because there's a whole lot of schools and a whole lot of collectives that would like to do what Arkansas has done and basically try to go after what they feel like is money owed to them. Look, is this ever going to go to court? And this is just my prediction here. This is not going to see the light of day in a court of law. I think if we take Iamaleava's number, it's about $200,000 Arkansas is looking to recoup. I think there's a lot of numbers between $0 and $200,000. I think lawyers get in the room. I think lawyers pick one that makes both sides feel okay about it, and we settle here. I do not think this sees its day in court, discovery, all those words that lawyers typically would like to avoid, especially athletic programs.
Yes, we're already hearing from both lawyers, which has been fun to continue to monitor this saga. But it initially started with a statement from Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director at Arkansas. And I think a big reason for doing that was to alert the fans to say, hey, your money is going towards players who are with us. We're not just, burning it or on players that aren't actually going to play for us. So there is a fan element to this. And RJ, I think a lot of fans, too, want to know that if this does hold up in court, if they are able to recoup some of that money, how could this potentially affect player movement, if at all?
Well, at the end of the day, Arkansas's got to try to replace Madden Iamaleava. They got to try to replace Desmond James. They're going to need some money to do that. So, part of the reason why buyouts or liquidated damages exist in contracts is so that the entity that is being left can then be made whole to go continue to do business and pursue other people. It's the same thing with coaches. It's why a G5 team is owed a buyout, or why an SEC team is owed a buyout if their coach goes to the NFL. Like, there are reasons, damages, there's a reason for them. There's a reason for the protection that they have in these contracts. And at the end of the day, are these contracts real contracts if they're not enforceable, if they're not even going to be attempted to be enforced? I mean, at the end of the day, what we've got right now is an ongoing, perpetual negotiation period between player and school. I mean, that's effectively what's going on or what went on, I should say, with Nico Iamaleava in Tennessee, the multiple times coming at bites at the apple to try to get a raise. At the end of the day, these contracts have to be actually real. They have to be guardrails. They have to be something that both parties are going to stick to. And if you would like to break a contract, well, there's going to be a cost to it. So I understand from the school's perspective why they're pursuing money that they feel is owed.
I know that your question, are these contracts real, is supposed to be hypothetical, but I can answer that for you. No. But we could potentially find out if there is some realism to them based on what happens with this story. But Richard Johnson, thank you so much for breaking down some of the biggest storylines of this spring transfer portal window. All right, so we're going to head back here in studio and talk a little bit more about this, because I do think it is kind of interesting. I mean, our friend Brandon Marcello referred to it as a watershed moment when it comes to college athletics. Again, this is if it goes through, if there's a lawsuit, if they're able to, so there's a lot of ifs involved, but I heard you nodding along to a lot of what RJ said. What is it that you took away from that conversation?
Yeah, Coop, if was a fifth, we'll all be drunk right now, right? Coop, that money's spent. You're not seeing any of it, and I get it. You want to shine the light on saying, you guys just can't come in here, take our money, and leave. The next one that comes in, there might be a chance that we might tap your pockets. But you know what? I remember running into this situation back in 2003 with Charles Rogers. Charles Rogers did some things in his contract, and I remember Matt Millen walking down to Charles and tapping Charles on the shoulder while he walked down. I said, Charles, I didn't talk to you. Chuck went over, came back, and said, Smoke, they're asking me for some of that signing bonus back. Don't they know that money is spent? Same thing Madden saying, money gone. Good luck trying to catch me. Replace me, let the fans feel good about it, but there's probably 1%, maybe 0, I'll go to 0, that they get a dime of that back.
Money's gone, but like we talked about this last time, I think they're trying to make an example. It's less about the $200,000 and more about the protection that the schools and the programs are trying to put in place. And you brought it up with Jasmine James, you brought it up with Madden Iamaleava. He went through spring ball. Those are valuable reps that KJ Jackson or Grayson Wilson could have had. That is now in Los Angeles, California, and that's money invested. So for these teams, I think they're just trying to make an example of a player saying, hey, we signed these contracts, are they enforceable or not? And to RJ's point, might not recoup the $200,000, but a settlement of maybe half or maybe $50K is something that can go a long way, because they need to replace those bodies as well in the transfer portal. I know everybody thinks money's being thrown around like it's candy, but teams need to find a way to replenish their funds and go out and acquire players.
Coop, the only thing I would say to Arkansas is just be careful, because in recruiting, a lot of things get dirty. And if the recruiting process wasn't really clean and some of us stuck our hand in the cookie jar when some of us shouldn't have been on campus or impermissible phone calls, yeah, those things can come out. So do you just walk away just saying, you know what, for the next person, this is what's going to happen, but we want to leave this one alone? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to start just rehashing up old, dirty wounds that can get really ugly for everybody that had something to do with it.
I'd also have a hard time watching $400,000 just walk out the door between two players within a spring
Art
ball.
playing for you.
Right. So I get both sides of it. I understand what you're saying, but financially, I can see where they're coming from on this.
A very interesting situation. We'll see how that continues to develop.